Hello, I would like to try something different this time. I would like to analyze and break down a paragraph by Carl Jung, and I would like to break it down sentence by sentence. It's a paragraph from The Development of Personality, where Jung explains his vision of what it means to achieve personality. So let's begin. The achievement of personality is an act of high courage flung in the face of life. We know that for Jung, courage is one of the most important moral values. And we are not talking about courage in the sense of going bungee jumping. We are talking about courage to engage in life. We are talking about courage to do the right thing. If you let yourself be ruled by fear, you stay in a sheltered position from life. You flee from life. You refuse to engage in life. And that's why courage is so important in becoming an individual, becoming a complete person. So, the achievement of personality is an act of high courage flung in the face of life. Then he proceeds, it is the absolute affirmation of all that constitutes the individual, the most successful adaptation to the universal conditions of existence, coupled with the greatest possible freedom for self-determination. This will sound a little bit challenging, but let's break it down. The absolute affirmation of all that constitutes the individual. Here is where the influence of Nietzsche on Jung is really evident. And if you didn't know, Friedrich Nietzsche was one of Jung's greatest influences. So, the absolute affirmation of all that constitutes the individual. It means integrating all parts of yourself into a whole. In Jungian language, that would be individuation. But it's the same thing that Nietzsche would consider the art of self-creation, that Nietzsche called becoming who you are. What both of them were talking about is affirming all parts of yourself, the absolute affirmation of everything that constitutes the individual. It means to make a character out of yourself, a character in a story of your life, a story which also needs to make sense, which needs to be a coherent whole. Because if your life is not a story, it is a series of random events, and a series of random events cannot have meaning. For a deeper exploration of Nietzsche's idea of your life being a story, I suggest reading the book Nietzsche, Life as Literature by Alexander Nehamas. After the absolute affirmation of everything that constitutes the individual, we had the most successful adaptation to the universal conditions of existence, coupled with the greatest possible freedom for self-determination. What are the universal conditions of existence? In this context, he's not talking about love, joy, beauty, because it doesn't take much work to adapt to those conditions. Suffering, uncertainty, pain, loss, sorrow, those are all universal conditions of existence as well. And once again, just like Nietzsche, Jung suggests that we have to accept all of these conditions, because this is the only way to affirm life as a whole. But as we saw, this successful adaptation to the universal conditions of existence needs to be coupled with the greatest possible freedom of self-determination, because we are ultimately self-determining creatures. Within those limits that are imposed on you by the universe, by fate, or however you want to call it, you still determine who and what you will be. You are always free to choose how you respond to your given set of circumstances and limitations. You are definitely affected and sometimes limited by the facts of your life that are outside of your control, but you don't have to be defined by them. No matter how many limitations have been imposed on you, you still have plenty of freedom, because there are infinite different paths that you could take within those limitations, and that's a great amount of freedom. Probably too great for most people. So let's put this together. Courage. Courage to face life. Courage to engage in life. Courage to embark on an adventure of becoming who you are. Number 2 is absolute affirmation of all parts of yourself. That is integration, individuation, or in Nietzschean language, self-creation. Creating a story of your life. creating yourself into a complex but coherent character. Number 3, acceptance of and adaptation to universal conditions of existence that are outside of your control. You cannot escape your fair share of suffering, pain, uncertainty, loss. You have to embrace these uncomfortable parts of existence as much as you embrace the joy of being alive. Number 4 is this acceptance and adaptation being coupled with recognizing the fact that you are, after all, a self-determining creature. With all of these uncontrollable aspects of your existence and all the limitations imposed on you by the universe or fate, you still have the freedom to choose how you respond to those limitations and circumstances, and you have the freedom to choose who and what you are going to be. You still have the freedom to choose the direction of your life. And that's how Jung believed we develop personality and become complete individuals. I don't know about you, but I could hardly think of a greater adventure. And Jung himself said that this is surely the hardest task that a modern mind can set for itself. I hope we can engage in this task together. Thank you for your attention. That's it for this time. Let me know if you like this new format, if you would like me to break down some other ideas or specific paragraphs that you have in mind, some specific books that we could discuss. Of course, subscribe, like, comment your thoughts, and as always, stay strong, love life, and never feel sorry for yourself.